foul on Sophie Cunningham. That is her first team second. Coming in for Phoenix number 14, Dewanna.
The Indiana Fever's matchup against the Phoenix Mercury was expected to be a standard regular season game, but it turned into one of the most dramatic spectacles of the WNBA season. The tension in the air was palpable, fueled by the return of Dewanna Bonner to Indianapolis, where she faced a barrage of boos from the moment she stepped onto the court. The fans in attendance didn't hold back, making it clear they felt betrayed by Bonner's actions earlier in the season. Their response wasn't just about a player returning to face her former team. It was a reaction to a messy departure that left a sour taste in the mouths of Fever supporters. The boos echoed through Gainbridge Fieldhouse, a collective expression of frustration directed at a player who, in their eyes, had led down the team, the organization, and its loyal fanbase. The drama was amplified by the absence of the Fever's superstar, Caitlin Clark, who was sidelined with a groin injury. Despite this setback, the game took on a life of its own, driven by the narrative surrounding Bonner's brief and tumultuous tenure with the Fever. This wasn't just a basketball game. It was a stage for raw emotion, with fans letting Bonner know exactly how they felt about her exit. The booing wasn't a fleeting moment. It was sustained, loud, and unrelenting, a clear message that her actions had consequences. Even Alyssa Thomas, Bonner's fiancée and a star for the Mercury, got caught up in the moment, engaging with the crowd in defense of her partner, adding another layer of intensity to an already charged atmosphere. To understand why this game carried so much weight, it's necessary to rewind and examine the events leading up to it. Dewanna Bonner, a six-time WNBA All-Star and two-time champion with the Phoenix Mercury, was a marquee signing for the Indiana Fever in February 2025. The Fever, a franchise with only one championship in 2012 and a 7-year playoff drought before the previous season, saw Bonner as the veteran presence who could elevate their young core, including Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, toward title contention. With a $200,000 salary, Bonner was the third highest paid player on the roster, and expectations were sky high. Fans and the organization alike believed she would bring leadership, experience, and championship pedigree to a team hungry for success. However, things unraveled quickly. Bonner started the season in the Fever's lineup, but was moved to the bench after just 3 games. Her performance was shockingly subpar, averaging only 7.1 points and 3.8 rebounds on 34.5% shooting over 9 games. For a player who had consistently scored in double figures for 15 straight seasons, these numbers were a stark departure from her established reputation. She had more games without a made field goal than games with double-digit points, a statistic that stunned observers and frustrated fans. The fit between Bonner and the Fever was clearly off, and reports later confirmed that the disconnect was evident from the outset. The situation took a dramatic turn in mid-June when the Fever announced that Bonner was stepping away from the team for personal reasons. No further details were provided, and no timeline for her return was given. As her absence stretched to nearly 2 weeks, whispers began to circulate that she had requested a trade. Sources revealed that Bonner had essentially decided she no longer wanted to play for the Fever, a move that felt like abandonment to the team and its supporters. The Fever tried to find a trade partner, but with no takers, they made the decision to waive her outright on June 25th. Less than 2 weeks later, on July 8th, Bonner signed with the Phoenix Mercury, returning to the team where she had begun her career and where she could play alongside Alyssa Thomas. When Bonner walked back in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse on July 30th, wearing the Mercury's colors, the fans were ready. As soon as she checked into the game with 7 minutes left in the first quarter, the arena erupted in boos. The sound was deafening, a collective outpouring of anger and disappointment. Some fans even shouted "quitter" at her, a pointed reference to her decision to step away from the team. Bonner remained stoic, absorbing the negativity without responding, while Alyssa Thomas was visibly upset, exchanging words with fans in the stands. The scene was chaotic, a perfect encapsulation of the raw emotion that sports can evoke. Despite the drama, the Fever delivered a performance that spoke louder than the boos. Even without Caitlin Clark, they dominated the Mercury in a 107-101 victory that wasn't as close as the final score suggested. Aaliyah Boston led the way, scoring 22 points and grabbing 12 rebounds for her 4th consecutive double-double. Her 14 straight points in the fourth quarter were a statement, a declaration that the Fever didn't need Bonner to succeed. Harry McDonald, a player who wasn't even on the roster at the start of the season, stole the show with a career-high 27 points, including a scorching 17 in the first half. Sophie Cunningham and Dewanna Bonner's replacement, Lexi Hull, each contributed 12 points, showcasing the team's depth and resilience. This was a united effort, a display of what the Fever could achieve without the cloud of Bonner's drama hanging over them. Bonner's performance, on the other hand, was forgettable. In 21 minutes, she managed just 4 points on 1 of 4 shooting and grabbed a single rebound. For a player of her caliber, it was a lackluster showing, one that only reinforced the fans' perception that she was no longer the star she once was. The contrast between her underwhelming return and the Fever's commanding performance couldn't have been starker. The fans' boos seemed validated as the Fever proved they were better off without her. The post-game reactions added fuel to the fire. Mercury star Kalia Copper was visibly upset, calling out the Fever fans for what she described as disrespectful treatment of Bonner. She praised Bonner as a legend and a sweet soul, arguing that the booing was uncalled for. However, Mercury coach Nate Tibbetts took a more measured approach, acknowledging that the fans' reaction was a natural part of sports. He noted that when a player leaves a team on bad terms, especially by their own choice, fans are unlikely to welcome them back warmly. Tibbetts' perspective highlighted the reality of the situation. Bonner's departure wasn't a mutual parting or a trade forced by the team. It was her decision to walk away. The fans' reaction wasn't about Bonner's personal character or her contributions to the WNBA over the years. It was about accountability. They had invested emotionally and financially in the Fever, buying tickets and merchandise with the expectation that Bonner would help lead the team to new heights. Instead, she played 9 games, performed poorly, and then left, citing a lack of fit. To the fans, it felt like a betrayal, a case of a player taking their money and running when things got tough. The booing was their way of expressing that they deserved better. Bonner's tenure with the Fever raises broader questions about player loyalty and accountability in professional sports. When a player signs a contract, especially one as lucrative as Bonner's, there's an expectation that they'll give maximum effort, even in challenging circumstances. Bonner's decision to step away after just 9 games sends a troubling message to younger players and fans alike. It suggests that veterans can sign big deals, underperform, and then opt out without facing significant consequences. For a league like the WNBA, which relies heavily on fan support and investment, this kind of behavior risks alienating the very people who keep the sport alive. The Fever, to their credit, handled the situation with professionalism. They didn't publicly criticize Bonner or air their grievances in the media. Instead, they moved forward, focusing on the players who wanted to be there. The team's performance against the Mercury was a testament to their resilience and potential. With a record of 15-12 and a 3-game winning streak, the Fever are above 500 for the first time since 2015. They're proving they can compete with playoff-caliber teams like the Mercury, who, despite a 16-10 record, have struggled recently, losing 4 of their last 5 games. Bonner's return to Phoenix may have been the right move for her personally. Playing alongside Alyssa Thomas and in a familiar system likely suits her better. But her handling of the situation in Indiana left much to be desired. She could have been upfront about her discomfort from the start or worked harder to adapt to the team system. Instead, she chose to step away, leaving the Fever to deal with the fallout. The organization wasted salary cap space, time, and resources on a player who didn't deliver, and they missed out on other potential signings because of their commitment to her. The fans' reaction, while harsh, was rooted in their passion for the team. They weren't booing Bonner because of who she is as a person. They were booing her for what she represented in that moment, a player who, in their view, had let them down. Sports fandom is built on loyalty and emotional investment, and when a player appears to disregard that, fans feel justified in expressing their frustration. The booing wasn't about disrespect. It was about holding Bonner accountable for her actions.